If you are a beginner seller on Amazon and you are thinking about shipping products to an Amazon FBA warehouse, then the tips I am about to share with you will be extremely important for you. Let me explain something that many beginners misunderstand at the very start. One mistake I often see new sellers make is this. Instead of testing the market with a small quantity first, they immediately send a large shipment to Amazon FBA. I am talking about sellers sending 50, 100, or sometimes even 1,000 pieces right from the beginning. Many beginners believe this will help them grow faster, but in reality, this can be a very risky decision. If things do not go according to plan, recovering that investment can become very difficult. So the important question we need to answer is this. Why is sending large quantities to Amazon FBA so risky in the early stage? To understand that clearly, we first need to understand how the Amazon marketplace actually works. Many beginners assume that once their products reach an Amazon FBA warehouse, those products will automatically start selling. Now here is something beginners often misunderstand. The reality is very different. Amazon is an extremely competitive marketplace. When customers search for a product on Amazon, the platform does not randomly show listings. Amazon's search algorithm ranks products based on several important factors. These include sales velocity, product reviews, listing optimization, conversion rate, pricing competitiveness, and advertising performance. Because experienced sellers already understand how this system works, their products often rank higher in search results. Now, this does not mean Amazon blocks new sellers. New listings can absolutely rank and perform well if they are priced competitively, optimized properly, and supported with advertising. However, new listings usually need some time to gain traction and build sales history. This is very important to understand if you are new to Amazon. Another thing to understand is how customer behavior works on Amazon. Most customers rarely go beyond the first page of search results. In fact, many industry studies estimate that roughly 70 to 80% of clicks happen on the first page. This means the listings appearing near the top of the search results usually receive the majority of sales. Experienced sellers also understand seasonal demand patterns. They know which products sell quickly during certain times of the year and which products tend to move more slowly. This type of knowledge usually comes from years of real selling experience on the platform. Now let us think about the risk for a beginner seller. If a new seller sends a single product in very large quantities, for example 1,000 or 2,000 units, the entire risk falls on that seller. If those products reach the FBA warehouse but do not start selling as quickly as expected, your investment becomes locked in inventory. Now, of course, if you are completely confident about the demand for your product, sending larger quantities may not create a problem. Experienced sellers sometimes do this because they already understand the market. But if you are still unsure about how the product will perform, taking such a large risk in the beginning is usually not a wise decision. Another major challenge for beginners is shipping cost. When you ship products internationally to an Amazon FBA warehouse, several different costs may be involved. These can include international freight, customs duties, import taxes, product preparation, labeling, and Amazon fulfillment fees. As an Amazon seller, you always need to think about how these costs affect your profit. If the product sells slowly, recovering these shipping costs becomes much more difficult. Now imagine another situation. If the products you send do not sell quickly, your inventory may remain inside the Amazon FBA fulfillment center for a long period of time. This means the money you invested in purchasing and shipping those products becomes tied up in unsold inventory. On top of that, Amazon charges storage fees for inventory kept inside their warehouses. There are monthly storage fees, and if inventory stays too long, long-term storage fees can also apply. Over time, these fees begin to accumulate. When that happens, they slowly reduce your profit margin. This is something many beginners do not realize until it is too late. Another challenge appears if you do not have any connection or address in the country where the FBA warehouse is located. Technically, Amazon does allow sellers to create what are called removal orders. Through a removal order, you can ask Amazon to return your inventory to a specified address or dispose of the products. However, for sellers operating from countries like Nepal, this can still be difficult in practice. If you do not have a return address in the same country as the FBA warehouse, retrieving your inventory can become complicated and expensive. So, while removal orders do exist, bringing products back internationally is often not practical. For these reasons, it is very important to approach Amazon FBA carefully, especially as a beginner. Now, if you are planning to send products to Amazon FBA but have not done so yet, the first thing you should focus on is the market you are entering. In other words, you need to understand which products are actually in demand in that specific Amazon marketplace. Identifying demand should always be your first priority before sending inventory. One advantage of Amazon FBA is that it allows sellers to send almost any quantity of inventory. You can send a very small number of units if you want, or if you have the capacity, you can send very large quantities. But before committing to large shipments, it is always better to test the demand first. One practical strategy many sellers use is selecting multiple products and sending a small test quantity of each product to the FBA warehouse. Some sellers test with 5 or 10 units. Others may send 20, 50, or even 100 units depending on shipping costs and their available budget. The exact number can vary, but the important idea is to start small and validate demand before scaling. Once those products arrive at the FBA warehouse, the key thing you should observe is which products start selling the fastest. This step is extremely valuable for beginners because it gives you real market feedback. It is important to understand that not every product you test will perform well in the marketplace. If certain products sell quickly, that is a strong signal that the market demand exists. You can then reorder those products and restock them in larger quantities. On the other hand, if some products move slowly, you can experiment with pricing or promotions to encourage faster sales and clear that inventory. When dealing with slower moving products, it is usually best to try to clear them within a few months. This helps you recover your investment before storage fees increase further. Once that inventory is cleared, you can redirect your capital toward the products that are already proving to sell well. This testing approach is one of the safest ways for beginners to learn the market. Instead of risking a large investment on one product, you spread your risk across multiple product tests while gaining valuable selling experience. Now compare this with the opposite situation. If you send very large quantities right from the beginning without understanding demand, a large portion of your investment may be consumed by shipping costs alone. And if those products fail to sell quickly, recovering that investment becomes extremely difficult. In the worst-case scenario, your products may remain unsold inside the FBA warehouse for a long time. When that happens, sellers sometimes have no choice but to lower prices significantly just to recover a portion of their investment. In some cases, products may even be sold at a loss simply to clear the inventory. For this reason, new sellers should always begin by testing the market carefully before scaling their shipments. Understanding demand first, managing risk carefully, and gradually reinvesting into products that are already selling well is one of the most important principles for building a sustainable Amazon FBA business. If you are thinking about sending products to Amazon's Fulfillment by Amazon warehouse or fulfillment center, this is an extremely important video that you should watch carefully. Many new sellers who are just starting their journey on Amazon are not always aware that in certain situations, Amazon may not process their shipments exactly the way they expect. Sometimes shipments can face issues during the receiving process. Products may be marked as unfulfillable, relabeling may be required, or sellers may need to remove inventory from the warehouse. Situations like these can create unexpected costs if sellers do not clearly understand how the Fulfillment by Amazon process works before sending inventory. So in this video, I will explain the most common reasons why Amazon FBA shipments face problems, delays, or additional fees. Once you clearly understand these risks, you can make much safer decisions when sending products to Amazon fulfillment centers. Let us begin. The first reason shipments face problems at Amazon fulfillment centers is missing product tracking barcode labels. When sellers send products to Amazon FBA, each unit usually needs to have the correct product tracking barcode attached. In most cases, this is the FNSKU label. If products arrive without the correct labels, Amazon may mark the inventory as unfulfillable, delay the receiving process, or apply relabeling services with additional labeling fees. In rare situations where labeling is completely incorrect, Amazon may even refuse the shipment. However, here is something beginners should understand clearly. In most situations, Amazon does not reject the entire shipment. Instead, Amazon typically relabels the products on behalf of the seller and charges a labeling service fee. The second issue occurs when the products sent to Amazon do not match the product listing. Let me explain this with a simple example. Imagine that a seller creates a listing for a blue phone cover, but the supplier accidentally ships red phone covers to Amazon instead. In that situation, Amazon may mark those units as unfulfillable or require the seller to create a removal order. In many cases, Amazon does not immediately reject the shipment when it arrives. Instead, the problem is usually discovered during the receiving process or later during quality checks or customer complaints. When that happens, the inventory may become stranded or unavailable for sale. The third issue happens when barcode labels are mismatched. This occurs when the FNSKU barcode of one product is mistakenly placed on a completely different product. When Amazon scans such units during the receiving process, the system detects the mismatch and may mark the inventory as mislabeled. In these situations, Amazon may require relabeling, charge correction fees, mark the units as unfulfillable, or require the seller to remove the inventory from the warehouse. Many beginners do not realize this, but this type of mistake often happens when suppliers are packaging multiple products at the same time. Another common issue occurs when products arrive at Amazon warehouses already damaged. If products reach the fulfillment center in broken, crushed, leaking, or unsafe condition, Amazon cannot deliver those items to customers. In such cases, Amazon will usually mark the units as damaged or unfulfillable. The seller will then need to create a removal order to bring the products back or request Amazon to dispose of the damaged inventory. Now, here is something many beginners worry about. Sellers sometimes think that if a shipment is accidentally sent to the wrong fulfillment center, Amazon will reject it immediately. In reality, that is not usually what happens. If inventory is sent to a different fulfillment center than the one assigned by Amazon, the shipment is usually still received. Amazon may internally transfer the inventory to the correct warehouse location. However, additional inbound placement fees or transportation fees may apply depending on the situation. Another serious reason shipments may face problems is when sellers send restricted, prohibited, or dangerous products to Amazon FBA warehouses. If a product belongs to restricted categories such as hazardous materials or regulated products that are not approved for FBA, Amazon may refuse the shipment, dispose of the inventory, block the listing, or even suspend the seller account. That is why it is very important to review Amazon's restricted product guidelines before sourcing any product. Now, here is something beginners often misunderstand. Some sellers believe that Amazon rejects shipments simply because products stay in the warehouse for too long. That is not exactly how the system works. Amazon does not reject shipments because inventory might sit for 180 days. Instead, Amazon charges aged inventory surcharges or long-term storage fees for inventory that remains in the warehouse for extended periods. However, Amazon does apply storage capacity limits to each seller account. If a seller reaches their storage capacity limit, Amazon will not allow that seller to create new shipment plans until more inventory is sold or removed. So the restriction happens before shipping inventory, not after the shipment reaches the warehouse. Another situation involves incorrect shipment dimensions or weight information. When creating a shipment, sellers must provide the weight and dimensions of the shipment. If this information is entered incorrectly, Amazon may remeasure the shipment when it arrives at the warehouse. Amazon may then update the shipment measurements and adjust the related fees in the system. However, Amazon usually does not reject shipments simply because the weight information was entered incorrectly. For large shipments such as LTL shipments or full truckload shipments, cargo carriers must usually book a dock appointment before delivering the shipment to Amazon fulfillment centers. Amazon warehouses receive thousands of shipments every day, so scheduled appointments help manage warehouse operations. However, this requirement mainly applies to large freight shipments. Small parcel shipments sent through carriers such as UPS are normally handled automatically and do not require sellers to book dock appointments themselves. Packaging safety guidelines are also extremely important for Amazon FBA shipments. Amazon has strict packaging and safety requirements for products sent to their warehouses. For example, if a seller uses plastic polybags for packaging, those polybags must include suffocation warning labels. If products are heavy, they may require team lift labels or other safety warnings. If sellers do not follow these packaging safety guidelines, Amazon may mark the inventory as unfulfillable, require repackaging, or charge additional preparation fees before the products can be sold. Another common mistake made by new sellers is sending too much inventory to Amazon warehouses before the products have proven sales demand. Amazon warehouses operate with limited storage space, so each seller account has a specific storage capacity limit. If sellers attempt to send inventory beyond their allowed capacity, Amazon will not allow them to create additional shipment plans until space becomes available. Apart from the reasons explained in this video, there can be other operational situations that may affect FBA shipments as well. That is why new sellers should always fully understand the Amazon FBA process and plan their shipments carefully before sending inventory to Amazon warehouses. In most cases, Amazon does not completely reject shipments. Instead, Problems usually result in delays, relabeling fees, removal orders, or inventory being marked as unfulfillable. Even these situations can create unexpected costs if sellers are not prepared. That is why proper planning, correct labeling, accurate shipment preparation, and carefully following Amazon guidelines are extremely important for anyone who wants to run a successful Fulfillment by Amazon business.